CERNWORLD, To Whom It May, Con-CERN, Magazine Number 1, Felix Moon, Copyright 2025, John Matthews, all rights reserved. Epigraph. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Søren Kierkegaard. Their king is the angel from the abyss. His name is Apollyon the Destroyer. Revelation 9:11. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern. William Blake, Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Another way of revealing extra dimensions would be through the production of microscopic black holes. What exactly we would detect would depend on the number of extra dimensions, the mass of the black hole, the size of the dimensions, and the energy at which the black hole occurs. Finding more on any of these subjects would open the door to yet unknown possibilities. CERN. Extra dimensions, gravitons, and tiny black holes. Chapter 1. Prophet and Surfer. Overture to Apocalypse. Overture, noun. 1. The opening music of an opera or play. 2. A suggestion made to elicit a response. September 22nd, 2015, Jerusalem, Israel, version 3.7. You know, in Switzerland they're punching holes in more than cheese, Prophet Dean tells Jim, his eyes fixed like Teflon on the hostile TV, blaring a news report of a stabbing in Jerusalem. CERN is puncturing holes in the space-time continuum, man. Jim stares at Prophet Dean, his gaze cold and unreadable, as if Dean were a cryptic puzzle on a computer screen. Prophet Dean, a self-proclaimed prophet with an obvious penchant for dramatic revelations, continues elucidating his odd God plot. CERN is opening the gates of hell. Jim suspects the so-called prophet is like the bedsheet prophets he reads about on Facebook. They come to Jerusalem, wrap themselves in crisp white hostile bedsheets, and suddenly make verbose auguries from news reports. Jim had one of those straight necks that made you think he didn't crane it for anyone or anything. His steady gaze exuded an aura of peacefulness, even in the most chaotic of situations. But this somehow strikes a nerve and produces a visible ripple in the timeline of his neck. Dean continues. The end won't begin in the Middle East like those religious nuts predict. It will begin right there at CERN on the border of Switzerland and France. Jim scoffs. You know, Prophet Boy, maybe you should go to Los Angeles next. Call yourself a weatherman and predict 7 days of sunshine. You are the proverbial boy crying wolf. Dean grins, unfazed. You got me. I'm an open book, an American prophet in Jerusalem, a storyteller. So, why are you in Israel, Surfer Jesus? Jim sighs. Coincidence, I guess. I had this random memory of being in Switzerland in high school. And then, going back recently, I had these weird dreams, and Albert Einstein said, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. Dean cuts him off. A burst of hot, gusting wind whumps through the window, carrying an acute aroma of fresh-baked bread and baklava. The Islamic adhan, or call to prayer, echoes from the mosque speakers, pulsating an electrical current of ripples across the ancient golden wrinkles of Jerusalem. In the meantime, you have to watch this video that CERN made. They call it an opera, if you can believe it. It's titled Symmetry, Dean says, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Jim's attention is drawn to the screen. The video opens with the Large Hadron Collider, a machine so massive it makes one dizzy just to look at it. An angelic soprano voice soars above the ominous storyline of the end of the world. The dramatic and operatic theme of everything being sucked through a black hole straw into an abyss. Her heavenly cathedral reverb sound contrasting the rough, chaotic photon jets around the particle collider towards a big bang, annihilation, the creation of a black hole that will engulf the universe. The video cuts to a scientist dancing and studying a blueprint in an underground lab. A warning alarm sounds, and the superimposed caption reads, "In the search for the smallest particle, he discovers a dance of the cosmos." Version 8.6. The piercing call to prayer by the muezzin over the mosque loudspeaker echoes through the streets of Jerusalem. Prophet Dean leans forward, his eyes gleaming. Today is Yom Kippur, the highest Jewish holiday. It's the day your name is either written in the book of life or the book of death. That's the whole theme of the holiday, of the Yom. Today's the day you either live or die. I'm trying to save you, Jim. You should listen. I'm officially freaking out in my skin, Jim replies. You know, the Yom officially begins when the new moon is spotted by the high priests. But the new moon is 2 days late. Tonight, I'll be the one to point out the Yom to the high priests up at the Mount of Olives to prove to you I'm a real prophet, Dean boasts. You'll see. You obviously didn't get attention as a child, Jim teases. Then, the New York Mets will lose the World Series next month. 3 earthquakes will immediately follow the final game. The 3 earthquakes are God confirming to you that the apocalypse will begin in 5 years, in 2020, with a virus. That will be the beginning of the end. You have to listen to me. Your life depends on it. Jim raises an eyebrow. That sounds like the craziest thing I've ever heard. And the only way you'll survive the apocalypse is if you come with me to CERN first and help me tear down their Shiva statue with a golf cart, Dean says, a devilish grin spreading across his face. Nope, wait, never mind, that's it. That's officially the craziest thing I've ever fucking heard, Jim scoffs. Their mascot is a statue of Shiva the Destroyer. Can you believe it? The whole god of fucking destruction thing, it's so blatantly obvious. Literally, the god of the machine. We're going to rip that motherfucking Shiva statue down with a golf cart. Destroy it. The irony, Jim laughs nervously. You want me to destroy the Shiva the Destroyer statue at CERN with a fucking golf cart? That's God's plan for my life? No worries. I'll buy your ticket to Geneva, Dean replies, his tone serious. You have to follow God's plan for your life, Jim. Shiva the Destroyer is the Deus Ex Machina chapter of your story. July 4th, 2012. CMS Project, CERN. Cessy, France, version 2.1. The Prophecy of Time. Adam Glucklich stood before the Large Hadron Collider, an uncanny feeling in his gut that today might unveil the Higgs boson. As he fine-tuned the settings, a stranger emerged from the shadows. Adam Glucklich, the man declared with a commanding tone. I've been looking for you. Adam frowned. And you are? The man stepped forward, extending a hand. My name is Dean. I have something to show you, something that will change everything you think you know about time. Adam shook his hand, curiosity piqued. How did you even get in here? And what could you possibly show me that I haven't already seen here? Dean smiled enigmatically. Not here, but in Israel. There's a prophecy, Adam, and it involves you. Before Adam could respond, Dean produced an ancient leather-bound book, flipping it open to a page marked with a red ribbon. Symbols and dates filled the page, with one date circled in red, November 2nd, 2033. This date, Dean pointed, marks the end of the world as we know it, unless we act. Adam's heart raced. Prophecies? The end of the world? It was absurd, yet something in Dean's eyes made him hesitate. Why me? Adam asked, his voice barely a whisper. Because you're destined to unlock time. Today, you've already discovered the Higgs boson. Check your data from the last hour, but beware, you'll make a grave mistake with Maya. Dean paused, glancing at his watch, a significant, almost ceremonial gesture. Time is of the essence, Adam. Remember this moment. Dean's words sent a shiver down Adam's spine. With that, Dean vanished, leaving Adam with a mix of awe and dread. His mind raced with unanswered questions. His watch suddenly felt heavier on his wrist, and the weight of an unknown future pressed down on him. As the echo of Dean's voice faded, Adam's surroundings seemed to warp, the air thick with the scent of impending change. Time, Adam whispered to himself, is no longer just ticking. It's waiting for my next move. Chapter 2. Prologue to the Cosmic Post Office. Prologue. Noun. 1. Separate segment to introduce a literary or musical work. 2. An incident or thing leading to another episode or matter. 3. A time trial in professional cycling to determine a leader. October 7th, 1895, Zurich, Switzerland, version 1. Al pedals through the misty streets of Zurich, his mind embarked on a cosmic journey. He fancies himself a mailman, not of mere letters, but of messages through time. The autumn night's mist envelops him like an unopened letter, his thoughts drifting to Aaron Bernstein's magazine article about the universe as a cosmic post office. Here, in his imagination, in this thought experiment, Al Einstein becomes the cosmic courier, zipping through epochs, transcending time to deliver messages to historical and future figures. Despite tomorrow's looming entrance exam, which he'll flunk, but history will forgive, at almost 17, Al chuckles at his own whimsy, murmuring, "Ich bin meiner Zeit voraus," a mischievous grin spreading across his face. The phrase, "I'm ahead of my time," resonates deeply. For he envisions traveling beside his bike's light beam at the speed of light, a journey through time itself. In the shadows, the timekeeper, an AI from the future, watches Al. Tasked with maintaining the balance of time, this entity knows Al's pursuit of the light wave from his bike will lead to monumental discoveries. Yet, for now, Al remains content in his imagination, blissfully unaware that tomorrow's flunk is not a misstep, but a pivotal moment orchestrated by the timekeeper, who alone understands it's all about the timing. Version 2. Einstein's bike swerves, colliding with what seemed like an invisible body. Under cherry blossoms, he ponders objects linked like strings across space-time. He recalls hearing a bike bell, not his own, like a warning, right before the collision. This moment, unbeknownst to him, is like an anchor in the time ocean, using quantum entanglement with another body across the space-time web. Timekeeper, an AI from the future, manipulates the threads of time to ensure this encounter with quantum entanglement. He feels terrified. This encounter, which he'll one day call spooky action at a distance, will shape his future understanding of physics. As he steadies himself, a cherry blossom petal floats down, landing softly on his handlebar. "Time," he whispers to the petal, "as fleeting as you," glimpsing the intricate dance between destiny and individual will, yet unaware that the timekeeper's invisible hand guides him towards his cosmic destiny. October 7th, 1993, Cloten, Switzerland, version 1. Dear Jimmy, I miss you more than Swiss Miss misses her marshmallows, Maya wrote, her heart heavy with distance between them. I miss you more than a Swiss watch misses a second hand. Every moment without you feels like an eternity. You'll be here in December, right? I'm counting down the days like Swiss chocolate workers counting cocoa beans. Today was a bit of a weather roller coaster. I went for a bike ride but had to return for a jacket. I'll write more soon, but my sister, Ellie, is about to leave for the post office. Please write back. Love, Maya. P.S. Did you know the Swiss invented Velcro? Maybe we're just meant to stick together. Version 2. Today my bike crashed into something invisible and I hurt my head. It felt like I hit a ghost from another time. I even heard a bike bell from nowhere like a warning right before. It was spooky, like a ghost. I'll write more soon, but my sister, Ellie, is about to leave for the post office. Please write back. Love, Maya. She sealed the letter, but not before adding a postscript. P.S. Remember, not all distances are measured in miles. She gazed one last time at her letter, penned on tissue-thin, pastel cosmic stationery adorned with planets, the sun, and stars. Then she added the symbol of a flower, mirroring the signature touch that Jim always included in his letters. October 7th, 2023, Kibbutz Yama Bezman, Northwest Negev, Israel, version 1.0. Shira woke from a nightmare where her peaceful kibbutz became a battlefield, with terrorists as clowns on tricycles, a terrifying image that lingered as she prepared for her morning bike ride. The morning air was thick with an unspoken tension. Preparing for her bike ride with Yuri, the rhythmic hiss of air, like lisping serpents, into her tires whispered like the nightmares that haunted her. "Hey, Yuri," Shira said, trying to shake off the unease. "Let's hope today's ride is less eventful than my dreams, shall we?" Yuri chuckled. "No promises, Shira, but I'll do my best to keep the Hamas clowns at bay." Version 2. All Shira's nightmares came true as she hid behind her bike in the bushes, witnessing the terrorists' brutality in her kibbutz. She'll later discover that Uri, her biking companion and lover, was among the victims of today's brutal attack. There was a stocky, red-headed man, like a guardian from across time, who had instructed her in English to hide where she did. A bullet hit her bike bell, causing it to ring out, and the tattooed cherubic guardian was gone. She recognized him from somewhere. Shira was safe. All was quiet again, and she wept softly, watching a small flower blowing in the breeze, like watching life through a pinhole in an opaque wall of death. December 12th, 1993, Cloten, Switzerland, version 1. A Swiss airjet roared, boring a hole like a portal overhead in the frozen air, as Jim and Maya huddled close, their thick ski jackets making them look like Russian matryoshka dolls. Her long, gold-spun hair cascaded like waterfall strands out of her neon green and pink chic snowboarding knit cap. Bright yarn and static electric strays from her golden locks exploded into an array of cosmic orbital protrusion like stars and planets around her head. One single blonde braid hung down her back like droopy French bread. She was a vision to Jim. "Your yellow coat looks like a banana," Maya laughed. "Yeah, we're like those layered Russian dolls," Jim replied, chuckling. "We'll be rushing to see each other." The silence stretched like a runway. "Jimmy," Maya said earnestly, using the nickname that had a hint of the Swiss-German lilt she loved, "I fall into an abyss when I'm not with you. Why did you stop writing?" Jim embraced her, resting his chin on her head. "I miss you, Swiss miss," he said, thinking of the hot chocolate logo of a cartoon Swiss girl that would soon fade from memory, like Maya also would. "Living this far apart is a bummer," Jim said, his tone heavy despite the lightness of his words. "Bummer," Maya echoed, her laughter piercing the night, lightening the darkness around them. "I like this word. It's funny. When God has a plan for our life, Jimmy, we'll survive this distance across the ocean of time," Maya said, her eyes glistening like snowflakes with hope. Jim paused, the phrase echoing in his mind like a haunting melody from another era. His gaze drifted to the window of his mind, where the fabric of the night seemed to part, revealing the infinite sky beyond the cold Swiss winter night. "The ocean of time," he murmured, half to himself, his voice carrying a tremor of both wonder and unease. "I feel like I've heard that before. Or maybe it's from the future?" His eyes flicked back to Maya, searching her face for any flicker of understanding, as if she too might be a bridge between the familiar past and an unknown future. They watched jets overhead, their lights painting the sky. Jim wasn't worried about jet fuel dropping on him, but in the future, he'd think about conspiracy theories and the digital world. Maya and Jimmy tittered and giggled, teetering between English and German, between the hormonal high of teen love and the low hum of jet fuel. Their besotted infatuation was incendiary enough to melt buttons off a snowman. A particle collision, passion, fission, hormones. They pressed even closer together in the blustery night, blood flowing, watching the miraculous massive jet underbellies shred through the overhead crystalline dark blue and pink-hued wonderland air. In this moment, they were both children and adults, their love transcending the constraints of time, shifting like the precise gears of a Swiss clock, fluid and ever-changing. CERN, just an hour's flight away, had just released the World Wide Web. Neither knew how it would change everything, turning their analog letter writing world into a digital one in a single instant. Not long from this moment, it would become an electronic world, a World Wide Web world, a CERN world. However, in this moment, the teens were in their own world. Another jet thundered above. They leaned into each other and kissed. Version 2. The Timekeeper AI from the future, tasked with maintaining the balance of time, watches from the shadows and alters this thread of time. A sudden, inexplicable chill runs through Jim, like a whisper from the future. Jim looks down at his Swatch watch with its Picasso artwork on the watch face. The ticking of the watch seems to him to be louder than the jets above, a rhythmic pounding that drowns out even the roar of the engines. He feels the ground quake, a subtle tremor that only he seems to notice. Although it's nighttime, he sees an instant of daylight, as if time itself stutters, catching a glimpse of the future like looking through a pinhole in the thick, opaque wall of evening. Another jet thunders above. They don't kiss. Her face began to fade, replaced by a guitar solo in his mind. Jim is distant, somewhere else, lost, terrified. Sprich mir einmal auf Deutsch. Speak to me once more in German. Maya tugged Jim's sleeve, grinning. Are you scared? Jim's voice trembles, barely audible to him over the watch's ticking, as he clutches Maya's hand tighter. I don't know what's happening to me. He glances at Maya, searching her eyes for any sign she feels it too. Maya's smile falters, her eyes reflecting a mix of confusion and concern. Jimmy, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. She reaches out, her hand hovering near his face, unsure. What's happening to him? It's now an electronic world, a World Wide Web world, a CERN world, where their future hangs in the balance, altered by unseen hands. November 16th, 2018, Barrio Escalante, Costa Rica, version 3.2, Echoes of Time. Jim stood at the edge of the field, the memory of that day with Maya vivid in his mind. The sky was a canvas of twilight, painting the world in hues of orange and pink. He could still hear her laughter, feel the warmth of her hand in his, and see the fear in her eyes as they parted ways, not knowing it would be the last time. In that memory, he plucked a small, delicate flower, offering it to Maya with a smile, a promise of their connection. But in the present, Jim found himself on a gusty porch in Barrio Escalante, November 2018. The air was thick with the scent of rain, and the trees somersaulted in the wind. His laptop lay open before him, the screen flickering with the promise of a storm. He had been meticulously going down a list of Maya Schneiders, providing detailed accounts of their shared past in his emails, hoping to find the one he remembered, the one who had received that little flower long ago. Just then, an email notification popped up. His heart skipped a beat, thinking it might be her. It was from a Swiss girl named Maya Schneider, but her message was clear. I think you've got the wrong Maya Schneider. However, coincidentally, I do have a brother named David, just like the one you mentioned. He's in the Swiss Army. I'm actually a professional cyclist, not sure if that helps, but I've always felt like my life was a race against time. As he turned to leave, a gust of wind swept through, carrying with it a piece of paper that fluttered down to land at his feet. Jim picked it up, his heart skipping a beat as he recognized Maya's handwriting. It was a letter he had retrieved from his childhood storage unit, a relic from times long past, which must have slipped out of his bag unnoticed in the gusty air. As he unfolded the letter, his eyes caught a line that seemed to resonate with a deeper meaning. "Write me soon. I fall into an abyss when I'm not with you." The words struck him with a force, not just for their emotional weight, but for the eerie premonition they carried. He remembered Prophet Dean's words about CERN being built in an abyss, echoing Revelation 9:11. This connection made Maya's words feel like more than just a metaphor. It was as if she was foreseeing the unraveling of time and space around them, and suddenly the abyss seemed all too real. September 22, 1993. Dear Jimmy, still buzzing with nerves and joy from your call. It was like a balm to hear your voice. After we hung up, sleep was a stranger, my mind racing with all I wanted to share. But when I had you on the phone, my brain just went poof. That's a brain fart, right? I'm sorry for that. But in this moment, it didn't matter. You made me feel like I was floating on clouds again. I was afraid you'd forgotten me, felt like falling into an abyss. But now, I'm okay, and I hope you are too. It's been 6 weeks since you left Switzerland and me. Love, Maya P.S. Write back soon. February 12th, 2019, Los Angeles, California, version 3.2. Epilogue, a message from the future. Now, back in his California apartment, Jim reflected on the 3 months he had spent in Costa Rica, guided by a cryptic mention in one of Maya's letters about a peculiar phenomenon there. His heart raced with anticipation as he checked his email. There it was, an email with the subject, "The Edge of Tomorrow." Jim, if you're reading this, you've made it this far. Remember, what we've started isn't over. The dance of the cosmos continues, and your steps are crucial. Watch for the signs, trust your dreams, and above all, remember her. She's the key to everything. The email, bizarrely, was time-stamped from the future, December 12th, 2033. The message ended not with a traditional signature, but with a mysterious string of letters and numbers, a code that seemed to defy logic. M4Y4L1F3. Following the code, there was a postscript that caught Jim's eye, almost as if the sender was anticipating his confusion. P.S. If CERN created the World Wide Web, did you think they couldn't create the space-time web? And then the email ended with a little Unicode flower. Jim leaned back in his chair, the glow of the screen illuminating his face. His obsession to recover his lost memories felt like an endless puzzle, piecing together his broken memory with letters from over 2 decades ago. Each letter, each fragment of memory, was a step closer to understanding not just who he was, but what he was meant to do. And it all seemed to start with this Swiss girl, Maya, who had just popped up in his memory, filled with holes like Swiss cheese. Chapter 3. Symphony of Life, Cosmic Collisions and Temporal Shifts. Collision, noun. 1. An occurrence of objects or people crashing into each other. 2. A particle exchange of energy like hadrons made by colliding. 3. A computing error, 2 records with same memory location. July 4th, 2012, CMS project, CERN, CESI, France, version 3.3. CERN's Big Bang. Imagine Adam in the control room not just witnessing a particle discovery, but the premiere of Time Travel, the movie. He's both critic and protagonist, contemplating whether he holds the power to rewind time's narrative. Each beep and blip from the machines is the soundtrack to his inner theater, where data streaming across screens isn't just information, it's his script, potentially malleable at his command. Here, science fiction melds with reality. placing Adam at the crossroads of history and destiny, questioning when to alter the past for a happier ending or let the story unfold. At CERN, amidst the hum of the Large Hadron Collider, protons dance in a high-speed ballet, colliding in a spectacle hotter than a supernova, scattering particles like cosmic confetti. Adam's eyes are glued to the CMS feed, capturing the universe's most elusive moments at 40 million frames per second. Today, they've glimpsed the Higgs boson, the God particle, a triumph akin to hearing a whisper from the dawn of time. Yet, with this victory comes a Pandora's box of possibilities, including the tantalizing theory of time travel. Adam's mind races. Time travel could undo mistakes, avert tragedies, like Maya's jet collision, a tragedy still fresh, occurring just 4 months ago on February 29th, coincidentally Jim's birthday. Both jets incinerated midair on her way to see Jim in New York, leaving him in perpetual mourning. The power to alter such recent history might unravel Jim's life to its very core, like pulling a thread that could disintegrate the fabric of his entire existence. As celebrations erupt, Adam's thoughts drift to his own life, the unexpected twists that led him here, and to Emily, whose life, like the particles they study, intertwines unpredictably with his. Their connection mirrors quantum entanglement, where, as Einstein might have said, their fates are linked in spooky action at a distance, defying life's vast uncertainties. Adam reflects on his first encounter with Maya, not through a romantic gaze, but through a literal collision in 2008. Their meeting was marked by Adam knocking into Maya, spilling her coffee over her powder blue lab coat. That moment, a blend of embarrassment and connection, set the stage for a significant part of his life. The urge to rewrite history for Maya tugs at Adam. When they became colleagues, he admired her, and the thought of bringing her back feels inherently right. Yet it would betray Jim, whose life has shaped his own in profound ways. Altering the past could shred Jim's reality from its foundations, leading Adam to reflect on and mentally chart the multiple forms of collision. The catastrophic collision, Maya's jet with another, a moment that forever altered their course. The personal collision, when Adam first met Maya at the CMS project in 2008, spilling her coffee, marking the beginning of something significant. The ethical collision, where changing history might collide time with memory and reality. Creating a new memory file for Jim would result in a computing error, a collision, where a second file for Jim would undoubtedly overwrite his other memories. Each type of collision, distinct yet interwoven, shapes their lives as Adam grapples with the implications of each impact. Yet Adam realizes he's getting ahead of himself. The Higgs boson has just been discovered, and developing technology to manipulate time, reality, or memory might take years, if it's even possible. Jim, with his knack for lightening serious endeavors, and Emily, with her thoughtful gaze, caught in this quantum love triangle, make Adam pause. Altering Jim's past would erase his journey, his pain, his growth. Some things, Adam realizes, are sacred. He contemplates writing Jim out of the script, crafting a new story where he inserts himself as he always wanted. He rationalizes that he'd be doing Jim a favor, helping him avoid all that pain by erasing Maya completely from his memory. As the party continues, Adam wrestles with his decision. The power to change the past is his, but at what cost? He resolves to tread carefully, using this newfound knowledge for progress, not personal gain. Later, alone, the weight of his choice lingers. Could he truly let go of the chance to bring Maya back? Each time he considers it, he sees the web of lives connected, a tapestry too delicate to tamper with. Adam looks to the future, vowing to harness the Higgs boson's potential for good, never to alter the past. The past, he decides, should remain untouched, a lesson in itself. residing in what some might refer to as negative time, a dimension where every moment has already unfolded, its echoes influencing the present, much like a film that can be watched but never edited. August 8th, 1993, Lenzburg, Switzerland, version 1.0. Love at First Light. On this day, August 8th, 1993, the quaint Kapelle der Freien in Lenzburg, Switzerland, was more than just a chapel. It was the universe's stage for a meeting of fates. The wooden beams of Kapelle der Freien, aged by time, held their breath as the air filled with the scents of wax and jasmine, promising a night of more than music. Jim, guitar in hand, scanned the crowd, a surfer's ease masking his search for something more. Maya, tucked away yet radiant, caught his eye. Their gazes locked, a silent agreement amidst the sea of faces. As the cons began, "Things Can Only Get Better," the melody seemed to weave around them, a destiny being crafted in real time. Jim's voice reached out to Maya, each word a thread pulling him closer. When the performance ended, his feet moved of their own accord, drawn to her like a magnet. "Hi, I'm Jim," he introduced himself, a blend of confidence and curiosity. "Maya," she responded, her smile like a sunrise. "That song, it felt like it was for me." "I'm 17, she added, a beacon in the night. "Me too," Jim echoed. "And crazy. My uncle always says the two go together. Their laughter, light and easy, mingled with the night." Even if Maya didn't get Jim's Fahrenheit 451 illusion about the fireman who questioned his society's norms, they spoke, discovering echoes of themselves in each other. Outside, under the moonlight, the Banana, the con's long yellow tour bus, stood witness as Maya suggested, "Let's take a photo for later." The snapshot captured their joy, a moment that felt like the dawn of something grand. With addresses exchanged, a simple act made monumental. Maya invited, "Come for Christmas. Chase me if you dare." Jim's reply was immediate. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away." Thus, with promises of letters and future meetings, they parted. But within those chapel walls, under history's gaze, love at first light had sparked, setting the stage for a tale where romance would dance with physics, and destiny would transcend mere chance. Version 2.0. The rom-com of the universe. On a day scripted by fate, Maya and Jim's paths crossed at Kapelle der Freien, a quaint chapel just an hour from Maya's home, setting the scene for a cosmic alignment. Jim, singing with the cons, became the center of Maya's universe, his smile and the faint jasmine scent pulling her in. Playing "Things Can Only Get Better," a tune co-created by future CERN physicist Brian Cox. Their connection deepened with each note, Maya becoming Jim's muse in a moment that felt predestined. Post-performance, their conversation sparked like light-speed banter. Exchanging addresses with promises of letters, Maya extended an invite for Christmas, her heart full of anticipation. They planned for photos by the Banana Bus, their laughter echoing in the morning air, a promise of future correspondence hanging like a starlit wish. Their meeting, orchestrated by what seemed like a rom-com director, was more than chance. It was as if Cupid, armed with quantum entanglement, had decided their fates. This encounter, under the unwitting influence of a future scientific luminary, set the stage for a tale where destiny would transcend mere chance, crafting a narrative where love and physics intertwined. February 29th, 1980, Canton, Michigan, version 1.0, Jim's Lucky Leap Day. On a leap day night, 4-year-old Jim experiences a birthday he'll never forget. Their car narrowly escapes a collision, brakes screeching in the cold air. Heart pounding, Jim's mother reassures him, "We're okay." They leave the roadside chaos for home, where Jim's birthday turns into a celebration of life. The family, relieved, sings Happy Birthday with extra fervor. As Jim blows out his candles, his wish is simple: to cherish every moment with his family. In this universe, the near miss becomes a tale of survival, a testament to life's fragility and the strength of their bond. February 29th, 1980, Canton, Michigan, version 2.0. Jim's birthday bash. Imagine a 4-year-old Jim not unwrapping presents, but receiving an unforgettable life lesson on life's unpredictability, courtesy of a universe eager to teach in the most dramatic fashion. On a leap day night, as cold as fate, young Jim witnesses a car crash that shifts his world. By the roadside, the air pungent with burnt rubber and the cries of sirens, he stands frozen. The scene before him, painted in hues of red and blue from emergency lights, is a symphony of chaos. Metal twisting, glass shattering, the last breaths of steam escaping wreckage. This day, meant for birthday songs, becomes a tragic milestone. The sounds of the crash imprint on his memory, echoing through the quiet streets like a ghost of what might have been. In another life, perhaps, the car swerves, narrowly escaping disaster. Jim's mother, quick and calm, calls for help, her gaze never leaving her son. But in Jim's reality, he stands in solitude, the cold seeping into his soul, marking an absence that will never be filled. Like Schrodinger's cat, Jim's life now exists in superposition. In one universe, he's celebrated, in another, he's scarred. As the night claims silence once more, the crash's echo persists, a haunting reminder, altering Jim's timeline with the touch of an unseen scientific hand. July 4th, 2012, CMS Project, CERN, CECI, France, version 7.3. Atom's existential crisis. In the aftermath of discovering the Higgs boson, Atom isn't just analyzing data, he's confronting the abyss of what-ifs. It's as if he's been given the remote to the cosmos's most dramatic saga, contemplating whether to rewind Maya's tragic chapter. As the control room buzzes with the victory of their scientific triumph, Atom retreats into solitude, his thoughts racing faster than the particles they've just tamed. The idea of time travel, once theoretical, now feels within his grasp, haunting him with the possibility of undoing Maya's fate. He draws an old photograph from his wallet, edges worn thin, capturing him with Maya, Jim, and Emily, all smiles, oblivious to the future's cruel plot twists. His thumb gently brushes Maya's image, his heart heavy with the question, could he reverse time, bring her back? The power to change history seems attainable, yet terrifying. Suddenly, his phone vibrates, a message from an unknown number. Atom, if you're reading this, you've already altered more than you realize. Check the date. His eyes dart to the date, July 5th, 2012. Yet his memory clings to July 4th. A cold shiver runs through him. Has he, unknowingly, already tampered with time? The message unfolds further. Your next step will shape everything. Remember, some collisions are inevitable. M. Is this Maya's voice echoing from the beyond, or a warning from another version of himself? The room spins, reality and possibility blurring. In a rush for verification, Atom checks every timestamp around him. His watch, the lab's clock, even his laptop all confirm July 5th, 2012. With shaking hands, Atom confronts the possibility that he's at the heart of a temporal paradox of his own making. His next decision looms, feeling like the universe itself is poised on a knife edge. September 23, 2015, Jerusalem, Israel, version 5. Shadows of Prophecy. The sun cast long shadows over New Jerusalem as Jim and Dean sat at a cafe. The air was filled with the haunting strains of Hotel California, played by Gypsy Girl, a young, attractive brunette violinist, whose music resonated with Jim's own longing for home. In the midst of this serenade, Dean leaned in, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Look at him, Jim. Recognize him?" He nodded subtly towards a man sitting alone, his demeanor tense, frequently checking his watch with a mix of impatience and confusion. Jim squinted, a flicker of déjà vu passing through him. Despite Gypsy Girl's distraction, he managed to focus. Maybe a little. "Who is he?" "That's Adam Glucklich from CERN," Dean revealed, his voice low. "I've brought him here for a reason, orchestrated by something of a cosmic chess game. Think of me as the time-traveling event planner, setting up mystical meetings and cryptic messages like we're on Survivor Time Edition." Jim's eyes widened, the pieces starting to fit together in his mind. "So, you're saying you're manipulating time?" Dean's smile was cryptic, more like nudging it. "I've got everyone running around in circles, literally and figuratively. Adam thinks he's on some sort of wild goose chase right now, but he's exactly where he needs to be." They left their drinks and merged with the crowd, Jim's glance back at Adam now mixed with awe. Dean led the way, his pace brisk. Once out of earshot, Dean elaborated, "Adam's here because I've given him a glimpse of time's secrets, but there's more to it. Trust me, this is part of something much bigger. Prophet Dean, the cosmic event planner." Jim, absorbing the weight of Dean's words, nodded slowly. "I trust you, Dean, but why the secrecy?" Dean's eyes twinkled with a mix of seriousness and mischief. "Because, my friend, sometimes the less you know, the better. Adam's story is just beginning, and we need to be ready. Meanwhile, he's hooked on his own timeline's trail, and we've got to keep moving." Chapter 4, Jet, Threads of Time. Jet, noun. 1. An aircraft propelled by jet engines. 2. A color of glossy black, as in jet black. 3. A hadron made by a particle collision. December 12, 1993, Michigan Airport, version 2. Jim Mayer sat by the window of the airplane, his journal open but his thoughts chaotic. He was flying to see Maya, the girl he had met in Switzerland a few months ago. As the plane took off, doubts filled his mind about whether this trip was part of God's plan for him, perhaps a thought of obsession compared to the usual 17-year-old. Jim's journal entries reflected his struggle with destiny and the choices that define our paths, his obsession with the divine fueled by the tragic loss of his mother in a gruesome accident that he witnessed at age 4. As the plane climbed, thrusting Jim back into his seat like a surfer caught by an unexpected wave, a big man with fiery red hair, appearing about 2 decades older than Jim, leaned over. "You have to follow God's plan for your life," he whispered earnestly. Jim was taken aback, but the man simply smiled a devilish grin and turned away. This brief interaction brought Jim a sense of calm, and he soon drifted into a dream. Unbeknownst to Jim, this man was Prophet Dean, whom he would encounter again in Jerusalem 22 years later from his perspective, but only a few days for Dean. As they flew higher, Jim gazed out the window. The sky was dark, with only a few stars visible. But as they neared their destination, dawn began to break, light spreading like fingers into the night. Jim felt a profound peace. The journey felt like a thread sewing his past, present, and future. As the plane landed, the darkness turned to light, and Jim knew he was on the right path. The words of the mysterious man had reassured him. He was following God's plan, and he was exactly where he was meant to be. The universe's dance continued, guiding Jim through time and space. September 24th, 2015, Jerusalem, Israel, version 11.7. The Dream of Maya. In the heart of Jerusalem, under the shadow of ancient walls, narrow corridors stretched through the 4 quarters, weaving a labyrinth of bizarre shops. Here, Jim found himself recounting a dream that had haunted him for decades. "I had a dream about a Swiss girl named Maya. We met when we were 17, back in 1993. Just last night, on a dream train chugging through the Swiss Alps, Maya leaned over and whispered something about Jerusalem in my ear. So, here I am, chasing a dream. Dean, with a twinkle in his eye, responded, "Lifting the proverbial veil of Maya, I see." "Yeah, really. Funny thing is, I'd forgotten about her for 22 years, like she was deleted from my mental hard drive. Maybe my software got an update last month," Jim chuckled, the sound echoing oddly in the dreamlike setting of the old city. "Your soul operates much like an iPhone iOS iGym Mars. It requires constant saving, backups, and updates." "What in the actual fucking fuck? How do you know my internet moniker? Nobody knows me IRL. You tracking my IP on the www, WTF, dude." Dean, revealing his knowledge of Jim's online identity, explained, "Imagine this, iGym Mars. Maya was part of CERN, messing with the Higgs boson to create something they call the space-time web. In your novel, she's alive in another dimension, brought back by a character named Adam. Your protagonist's life becomes a sci-fi movie, where the dance of destruction at CERN symbolizes the universe's balance between creation and destruction. And get this," Dean continued, "the protagonist's name is iJim, because they say he's had more updates than an iPhone. Holes in his memory like Swiss cheese. The irony is he thinks he made up the nickname, inspired by William Blake's character iJim, when it's really magnetic resonance bleeding between dimensions like a magnetic strip on a cosmic credit card bleeding over to a cosmic card reader across dimensions." Dean laughs a hearty yet macabre laugh. "That's the kicker. It's the code name physicists use to make fun of him because he's like a rat in a maze, an unwitting guinea pig. It's all fiction, of course, but think about it. Reality is stranger than fiction. You said you're looking for a concept for a movie or novel, and here it is. I'm giving you the vision for your story. I call it, To Whom It May Con-CERN. Get it? CERN? The title not only plays on CERN, but also on the transformation from Maya's love letters into the era of emails, thanks to the World Wide Web created by CERN." Jim, grappling with the surreal plot, played along like a method actor, asking about getting Maya back in the story. Dean, cryptic as ever, suggested, "Keep your board waxed and your mind open. In your tale, his tale, the universe might have more tricks up its sleeve. If you never take the adventure, you'll never get the girl. And for a twist, you could always show up at her house and announce yourself as the world's biggest stalker. It's all fiction, right?" Version 12.4. Reality's veil, echoes from the future. As Jim recounted his dream to Dean, the air around them seemed to thicken with a sense of destiny. Dean's eyes sparkled with a knowing look as he leaned in, his voice a whisper that seemed to echo through time itself. "Jim, what if I told you that your dream isn't just a dream? What if I said that Maya's whisper about Jerusalem was more than just a coincidence?" Jim's heart skipped a beat. The idea that his dream could be connected to reality, that his journey might be part of a larger tapestry, was both thrilling and terrifying. Dean continued, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial hush. "There's a reason you're here, Jim, and it's not just about chasing a dream, it's about altering the threads of time. Remember, if you never take the adventure, you'll never get the girl." Just then, a gust of wind swept through the ancient streets, carrying with it a piece of paper that landed at Jim's feet. He picked it up, his hands trembling. It was an old boarding pass, dated December 12, 1993, from his flight to see Maya. But on the back, in handwriting he recognized as his own, was a message. "Jim, if you're reading this, you've already changed more than you know. Trust your dreams. J." Jim looked up, but Dean was gone, vanished into the crowd as if he were never there. The boarding pass felt like a relic from another life, a life where he had the power to alter destinies. With the old city bustling around him, Jim stood alone, the weight of his next move pressing down on him like the jet-black night sky. Was he the architect of his own fate, or just a pawn in a cosmic game? Am I dreaming? Jim wondered. the reality of the moment slipping through his fingers like sand. Suddenly, the scene around him blurred, and Jim found himself waking up with a start, back on the airplane from 1993. The cabin was dark, the only light coming from the reading lamp above him. He was clutching his journal, the pen still in his hand, the ink wet from the last words he had written. I must follow God's plan. The boarding pass was nowhere to be seen, but the dream felt too vivid, too real. As he looked out the window, dawn was breaking, just like in his dream. The line between reality and dream was as thin as the thread of time itself. December 12th, 1993, en route to Switzerland, Dreamscape, version 2. In his dream, Jim found himself in a bustling city, not unlike Jerusalem, but with a modern twist. He was older, perhaps in his 30s or 40s, standing before an ancient wall, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. The man from the plane, with his distinctive fiery hair and tattoos, approached him. "You're here because of her, aren't you?" the man asked, his voice echoing oddly. "Yes, Maya," Jim replied, though he wasn't sure why. The man nodded. "Remember, some collisions are meant to happen?" As Jim tried to ask more, the scene shifted. He was now in a room filled with screens and complex machinery, people in lab coats bustling around. A woman, who felt like Maya but older, looked at him with eyes full of secrets. "We're rewriting history, Jim," she said, her voice tinged with both excitement and fear. The dream began to fade, the images blurring into each other. Jim felt a profound sense of purpose, yet also a deep unease about altering something fundamental. December 12th, 1993, en route to Switzerland, reality, version 3. Suddenly, Jim woke up with a start, back on the airplane. The cabin was dark, the only light coming from the reading lamp above him. He was clutching his journal, the pen still in his hand, the ink wet from the last words he had written. I must follow God's plan. The dream felt too vivid, too real. As he looked out the window, dawn was breaking, just like in his dream. The line between reality and dream was as thin as the thread of time itself. As the plane prepared to land, Jim's eyes scanned the cabin for the man with the red hair and tattoos, but he was nowhere to be seen. It was as if he had vanished, leaving Jim to wonder if he had been real or just a figment of his dream. The absence of the stranger felt like a missing puzzle piece, making Jim's journey to see Maya even more significant. Chapter 5, Reality, Dance of the Cosmos. Reality. Noun. 1. The agreed-upon description of the world that can be shared. 2. Genre of entertainment, as in TV, social media, documentary. Reality as we perceive it is a dance of the cosmos, where every step, every turn weaves the fabric of our existence. In the tranquil setting of Yama-Bezman, Israel, Dean, the enigmatic prophet, stands amidst the community, his voice a mix of fervor and mystery. Life's a murder mystery, and it's up to you to figure out who done it, he proclaims, his words resonating with both urgency and humor. The serene backdrop of the kibbutz starkly contrasts with Dean's intense delivery. Jim, with his dreamlike presence, watches Dean with a mix of amusement and concern. Dean's emotional state, a blend of fervor and frustration, seems deeply tied to his encounters with Shira Tzipor, whose life he has glimpsed through the lens of time, illustrating the intricate dance of time travel and its consequences. Dean's eyes, alight with a strange certainty, lock onto Jim's as he continues. Quantum entanglement, you see, it's not just about particles, it's about us, about the threads of love and loss that bind us across time. He pauses, his gaze drifting towards the horizon where the sun sets over Yama-Bezman, casting long shadows. I know I can't save Uri, her love, but Shira I will save, he declares, his voice tinged with both resignation and resolve. "You should all start carrying guns," Dean adds, his emotional rant taking an unexpected turn. "In Arizona, I have bunches of guns," he exclaims, before quickly lowering his tone. "Yama Bezmen," he whispers. "In Aramaic and Hebrew, it means ocean of time. And here, in this place where time flows like the sea, we find Shira, whose name sings like a songbird. Shira Tzipor. Nothing in this universe occurs by happenstance." He pauses, then with a slight smile repeats, "Einstein said coincidence is God's way of being anonymous." His words weave through the air, heavy with meaning, echoing Einstein's discussions on entanglement, where he once remarked on the spooky action at a distance. Here in Dean's narrative, life echoes this theme, where love and fate entangle, transcending the ordinary. As Dean speaks, his fervor paints the scene with a vivid brushstroke, making Jim's eyes slightly widen, a fleeting spark of something familiar flickering across his face. "Time ocean? Ocean of time?" Dean muses, his voice almost a whisper, intertwining the mystical with the scientific. With that, Dean's gaze shifts back to Jim, a silent understanding passing between them. The air is thick with the weight of his words, the promise of action in a future that, for now, only Dean can see. But mark my words, on October the 7th, 2023, a day when the stars will align in a cosmic ballet of fate, I'll be there. Not as a spectator, but as a participant in Shira's life. It's like I'm RSVPing to a universe that's notoriously bad at sending invites on time. That's when I'll step in, not with a cape, because, let's be honest, capes are so last century, but with the precise timing of a cosmic Swiss watch. I'll save Shira, or rather, time will allow me to intervene in her timeline. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that in the grand tapestry of existence, even prophets need a good reason to mess with things. And for me, that reason is Shira. Saving her isn't just about altering a single thread in the fabric of time. It's about weaving in a new pattern, one that might just change the entire tapestry. Dean's voice softens, the humor in his tone giving way to a solemn promise. 8 years from today, on October 7th, 2023, I'll be there, not just as a spectator of time, but as an active participant in its unfolding. I won't be alone, though. I'll be carrying the hopes of many, the unseen threads of those who believe in the dance of the cosmos. And in that moment, Shira Tzipor will not be a name lost to time. She'll be saved, because in this universe, sometimes we prophets are also given the role of guardians, not just of prophecy, but of love and life itself. With that, Dean's gaze shifts back to Jim, a silent understanding passing between them. The air is thick with the weight of his words, the promise of action in a future that, for now, only Dean can see. But for Jim, and perhaps for all who listen, the promise of October 7th, 2023 becomes a beacon of hope, a fixed point in the ever-flowing ocean of time. The prophecy of the party. Dean, in a moment of clarity, reminds Jim of their bet about the new moon, which Jim lost. "You owe me a visit," Dean says, inviting Jim to his World Series party on November 2nd. "You'll see the Mets lose, and there'll be 3 earthquakes," he adds, his voice carrying a weight of foreknowledge. This event, Dean explains, is part of his larger plan to dismantle the Shiva statue, which itself is just a piece of an even grander scheme. As they stand there, the air thick with the scent of earth and the promise of change, Jim realizes that every step in this journey, every seemingly random event, is part of a larger narrative, orchestrated by Dean's vision of the future. Their journey through Israel has been a tapestry of the biblical and the bizarre, from Jim's playful reenactment of parting the Red Sea, using a wooden pole he found on the beach, to a donkey's comedic attempt at fighting a field fire with buckets of water. The donkey, balancing a yoke, a wooden pole with a bucket of water hanging from each end, trotted back and forth as the farmer frantically dumped the buckets on the field fire. Dean had mentioned it was probably a fire from a stray mortar crossing the border from the Syrian war. This mix of the surreal and the sacred has been both laughter-filled and reflective. The looming shadow of the Syrian war adds a somber note, making Jim question his place in this dreamlike reality. December 12, 2033, CERN, Switzerland, version 2.0. Echoes of the past. Maya records her video journal, her voice heavy with emotion. Jim, there's so much I can't explain. We had a life together you can't remember. I died, but Adam brought me back with physics, creating holes in your reality. Now, you're like Swiss cheese, fragmented. I wish I could share everything, but here I am, talking to a ghost of our past. Maybe in another dimension, we're together. Here, I'm left with this video, my only connection to you. She hums a little tune for him, a song they used to love. She ends the recording, her heart tethered to a life now only in memories and Jim's fragmented dreams. There's so much more she wants to say. She wants to warn him about Dean. But for now, making interstellar contact across dimensions, across the ocean of time, will suffice. It's like a game of telephone across the cosmos, where messages float like driftwood on a temporal sea. Who knows how the message will arrive to Jim? They're early pioneers with this invention of sending data across time and space, but she knows she can't resist tampering with the currents of time a little bit if she can somehow reach Jim. It's like the interstellar telegraph, where you can send email across dimensions, space, and time through the Higgs field using the Higgs boson particle, akin to those suction tubes at the bank drive-up window, transporting not just information but hope through the vast time ocean. August 8, 2015, Basel, Switzerland, onboard a train, version 10.1.7. The Dream of the Past. Jim dreams of an era where recording music wasn't as simple as pulling out a smartphone. In this dream, he composes a guitar solo, frantically memorizing it before it fades from his memory. The experience is both exhilarating and maddening. It makes him feel youthful, like a child again, caught in a mental time travel with a woman whose voice he recognizes, but whose face is elusive. Her voice echoes, "How does it make you feel?" "My God," Jim replies, "it makes me feel so young." Her smile, hauntingly familiar, begins to dissolve like sand through his fingers into the night. She nods, her voice soft. That's why we're drawn to the unknown. To grasp it, lose it, to be halted by it, yet break through. Her image fades, leaving only the melody he's desperately trying to remember. Without technology to capture it, he focuses intensely, but the tune slips away, leaving behind a poignant reminder of youth's fleeting nature and the ephemeral quality of dreams. As the dream shifts, Jim finds himself in the backseat of a car, the world outside blurred like an impressionist painting. The car slows to a stop in front of a house, familiar yet alien. He steps out, his feet small and unsteady, the perspective of a child. There, on the porch, stands Maya, not as he remembers her from his waking life, but as a full-grown adult. Her smile, the same one from his dream, lights up her face. Her eyes, deep and knowing, lock onto his with a recognition that transcends time. Every detail about her, from the slight curl at the corner of her mouth to the way her hair falls, is etched in his memory, yet he's plagued by a profound sense of loss. "Why have I forgotten you?" the child Jim asks, his voice small but carrying the weight of years. Maya kneels down, her eyes level with his, because some memories are too big for the world we live in. They wait for us in dreams, where time doesn't matter. The dream begins to dissolve, but the feeling of her presence lingers, a puzzle piece from another life, fitting perfectly yet inexplicably missing from his waking world. Jim wakes with the echo of the lost melody and the image of Maya, a child's question lingering. "Why have I forgotten you?" October 7, 2015, Kibbutz Yama Bezman, Northwest Negev, Israel, version 22.7.17. Conclusion. As the sun sets over the Kibbutz Yama Bezman, the kibbutz of the ocean of time, casting long shadows towards the future, Jim feels a surge of purpose. Here, where time itself seems to ebb and flow like the ocean, he realizes he's not just a spectator in this grand play. He's a participant with a role to play in Dean's grand design. The journey ahead promises revelations, challenges, and perhaps the unraveling of life's greatest mystery. Dean's words hang in the air, a prophecy that feels both ominous and exhilarating. The idea of attending a cosmic party where the outcome is already known, where the very ground will shake in response to forces beyond comprehension, stirs something deep within Jim. He looks at Dean, whose eyes now seem to hold the weight of centuries, understanding that this isn't just about a baseball game or a statue. It's about navigating the threads of the time ocean, the intricate web of cause and effect, and wielding the power of choice against the tide of destiny. November 2nd, 2015, Phoenix, Arizona, version 7.0, Breaking the Fourth Wall. The room is minimalist, dominated by a massive TV showing the Kansas City Royals' victory. Prophet Dean, his fiancée Darla, and surfer Jim watch the New York Mets lose, followed by 3 earthquakes as predicted by Dean. "Oh dear God, what was that?" Darla exclaims, shocked by the earthquakes, a phenomenon nearly unheard of in Arizona. "Those, my darling Darla, are the 3 earthquakes I predicted would follow the Mets losing," Dean replies with satisfaction. Darla, who was knitting a soft blue scarf, springs up. "I thought it was a herd of elephants and totally forgot about your prediction. He's always right, isn't he?" She dashes downstairs, suddenly realizing, "I also forgot to check on baby Emma." Reaching the crib, she finds Emma safe, wrapped in a furry yellow onesie, her tiny chest rising and falling peacefully, like a pat of butter melting gently. "There's my sweet sugar baby watermelon," Prophet Dean jests in a silly cooing voice, adding levity as he takes baby Emma from darling Darla and hands her to surfer Jim. The little yellow thing that resembles a baby chicken, with her wispy golden curls like spun gold threads, catching the light like a halo of sunbeams. Jim thinks she really does seem no heavier than a mini watermelon in his arms. Bewildered, he thinks about the fabric of reality folding, bending. Jim, trying to grasp reality, asks Dean, "What do you really do?" "I win sports and weather bets mostly," Dean replies, his grin sly. "Are you serious?" "I don't know. Am I?" The TV screen, resembling an obsidian obelisk, serves as the fourth wall of the room, akin to the wall TV from Fahrenheit 451, displaying the Mets' defeat. Dean reveals their plan to travel to CERN in 2019 to dismantle the Shiva statue, an act he believes will avert an apocalypse. He proposes assembling a group of Swiss art students for this mission, likening it to orchestrating a cosmic bank heist. Jim, his world spinning, wonders if he's living in a simulation. "So you're telling me you can predict the future, and now we're on an apocalyptic road trip?" Dean chuckles. "Well, when you put it that way, it does sound like a bad sci-fi movie." Jim, accepting the bizarre reality, says, "If the world's ending in 5 years, we might as well have some fun with it." Dean slaps his back. "That's the spirit. Now, let's ensure baby Emma isn't the harbinger of doom." Version 7.1.1. As the room quiets, the TV screen flickers off, leaving them in the soft glow of the evening light filtering through the windows. Jim holds baby Emma, her tiny fingers wrapped around his, feeling the weight of the future in his arms. Dean, with a look that mixes mischief with solemnity, leans in close. "Jim, remember this moment. It's not just about the Mets or the earthquakes. It's about what we can change, what we must change." Jim feels a chill, not from the air conditioning, but from the realization that this isn't just a game or a series of coincidences. What are we really doing, Dean? What's the end game here? Dean's eyes sparkle with a mix of excitement and foreboding. We're rewriting the script, Jim, but first, we need to understand the play. And trust me, the next act is going to be something out of this world. Just then, the room vibrates slightly, another subtle reminder of the earthquakes. But this time, it feels different. A soft hum fills the air, almost like a whisper from the cosmos. Dean's smile widens. That, my friend, is the universe reminding us we're on the right track. But remember, every action has a reaction. We're about to find out just how far those ripples go. Jim looks at Emma, then back at Dean, the pieces of his life feeling like they are finally aligning, yet with a sense of impending chaos. So, what's next? Dean stands up, his silhouette stark against the setting sun flickering on the TV screen like a lone cowboy at high noon. Next, we ride where the fabric of reality is the thinnest. We're heading to CERN, but not for the particle physics you're thinking of. We're not just observers, Jim. We're gunslingers in this cosmic showdown. And trust me, the game, it's about to get real interesting. As Dean walks towards the door, he turns back with a grin. Oh, and Jim, bring your dancing shoes. The dance of the cosmos is just beginning. Oh, darling Darla, he calls down the stairs. With those cryptic words, Prophet Dean leaves, leaving Surfer Jim alone with baby Emma, the room now silent except for the soft breathing of the child in his arms. The weight of destiny feels heavier than ever, and as he looks out the window, the stars seem to wink back at him, as if in on the little secret, a secret that seems to pulse in the air, unspoken yet palpable, connecting him to this child in ways he can't yet fathom. Coming soon. CERNWORLD, Magazine number 2, Chasing Maya.